You are standing in a room full of people. Nobody is looking at you, and yet something inside you is absolutely certain that they are. Your palms are damp. Your voice sounds wrong. Your thoughts, which were perfectly clear 5 minutes ago, have scattered like startled birds. You have not been threatened. You have not been harmed. You are just being watched, and your brain is treating it like you are about to die. This is not a flaw. It is not anxiety. It is not weakness. It is one of the oldest survival systems ever built into a living creature, running at full power in a world it was never designed for. And once you understand what is actually happening inside your skull when someone looks at you, you will never feel the same way about a crowded room again. Start with a simple fact. Your brain cannot tell the difference between being watched and being hunted. Not metaphorically, neurologically. The same threat detection circuits that fire when a predator locks eyes on you fire when a stranger across a subway car glances in your direction. The same stress hormones flood your bloodstream. The same cascade of physical responses activates. Your heart rate climbs. Your peripheral vision narrows. Your muscles tighten at the shoulders and jaw. Your body is preparing for something that is not coming, but it does not know that. It only knows that eyes are on you, and for most of human evolutionary history, eyes on you meant something wanted to eat you. Psychologist Michael Argyle spent decades studying the human response to being watched and documented something he called gaze arousal. When another person makes direct eye contact with you, your autonomic nervous system activates within milliseconds. This is not a conscious choice. It happens before your thinking brain has any say in the matter. Argyle found that the physiological response to sustained eye contact is measurably similar to the response to mild physical threat. Your body treats a stranger's gaze as a potential danger signal, and it begins preparing accordingly. The question is why? Why would evolution wire us this way? The answer goes back roughly 500 million years to a time long before humans existed. Predators develop forward-facing eyes for one reason: to track prey. Two eyes pointing in the same direction create overlapping visual fields, which allows for precise depth perception, which allows for accurate targeting. So in the animal kingdom, forward-facing eyes came to mean one thing reliably: this creature eats other creatures. This creature is calculating distance. This creature is deciding whether to strike. Prey animals learned to read this signal. Creatures that noticed when they were being looked at lived. Creatures that didn't notice died before they could pass on their genes. Over hundreds of millions of years, across thousands of species, the detection of a direct forward-facing gaze became wired into the nervous system as a threat cue. Not a possible threat, not something to think about. An immediate automatic alarm. You inherited that alarm. Every human alive inherited it, and it is still running. Neuroscientist Arne Ohman at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm ran a series of studies in the early 2000s examining how quickly the human brain detects threatening faces and gazes. What he found was striking. The brain processes a direct threatening gaze faster than it processes almost any other visual information. Faster than color, faster than shape, faster than words. The threat detection pathway, running through a small almond-shaped structure in the brain called the amygdala, can identify and respond to a direct hostile stare in as little as 17 milliseconds. That is faster than conscious awareness. You feel the threat before you see the face. Ohman called this the evolutionary premium on threat detection. Your brain is not built for accuracy. It is built for speed. It would rather fire the alarm 100 times when there is no danger than miss the one time there is. This is the system that is activating when you stand up to give a presentation, when you walk into a party alone, when someone across the office glances at you and looks away. Your amygdala is not reasoning about social context. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is scanning for predators. It is finding eyes. And it is screaming. But here is where it gets stranger. The brain does not just respond to being watched. It responds to the possibility of being watched, even when no one is actually looking. Researchers Melissa Bateson, Daniel Nettle, and Gilbert Roberts published a landmark study in 2006 in the journal Biology Letters. They were examining something called the watching eyes effect. In a university common room, they alternated posters above the coffee and tea station over several weeks. Some weeks, the poster showed a pair of human eyes. Other weeks, it showed a picture of flowers. The amounts that people voluntarily contributed to an honesty box for their drinks were tracked throughout. When the eyes poster was displayed, people contributed nearly 3 times as much money as when the flowers poster was up. 3 times. Nobody was actually being watched. It was a photograph of eyes on a piece of paper, but the mere suggestion of a gaze changed behavior dramatically. Your brain cannot turn this system off. It was not designed to. The threat detection response to eyes is so deeply embedded that it activates even for stylized, drawn, or printed representations of eyes. There are studies showing that people behave more honestly, more generously, and more cooperatively when a simple pair of cartoon eyes is placed in their field of vision. You are being influenced right now by every pair of eyes painted on a storefront, printed on a cereal box, or photographed in an advertisement. You never consciously registered any of them, but your amygdala did. Now combine this with something else your brain is doing at the same time, something called the spotlight effect. Psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky at Cornell University coined the term in a 1999 study. They asked participants to wear an embarrassing t-shirt, one featuring the face of Barry Manilow, into a room where other people were sitting. Afterward, they asked both the t-shirt wearers and the room's occupants how many people had noticed the shirt. The wearers consistently guessed that roughly half the room had noticed. The actual number was closer to 20%, less than half of what the wearers expected. People dramatically overestimate how much others are looking at them, how much others are judging them, how much space they occupy in other people's minds. The spotlight effect is the cognitive illusion that you are at the center of everyone else's attention, that your mistakes are visible and memorable, that your discomfort is being observed and cataloged, that the world is watching you specifically. It is not. It never was. Other people are almost entirely focused on themselves, on their own performance, their own appearance, their own fear of being watched. Every person in that crowded room is standing inside their own spotlight, convinced that everyone else can see them clearly. Nobody is watching you because everybody is too busy worrying that somebody is watching them. And yet, your ancient threat detection system does not know this. It cannot learn it, no matter how many times the evidence confirms it. Because it was not built to learn, it was built to fire. And in the environments it evolved for, small groups of primates moving through territories shared with large predatory cats, being watched by another set of eyes was almost always significant. Either a predator was tracking you, or a rival was assessing you, or a member of your group was evaluating your status. None of these outcomes were neutral. All of them required a rapid response. Status, it turns out, is the third piece of this puzzle, and it is the one that explains why being watched by other humans feels so specifically uncomfortable. Not just frightening, but shameful. Primatologist Robin Dunbar at the University of Oxford has spent decades studying the social lives of primates and early humans. His work on what became known as Dunbar's number, the idea that humans have a cognitive upper limit of roughly 150 meaningful social relationships, points to something deeper. In small tribal groups, your reputation was everything. Your status within the group determined your access to food, to mates, to protection. To be observed making a mistake was not just embarrassing, it was dangerous. A drop in status could mean exclusion. Exclusion in the ancestral environment could mean death. Your brain learned to treat social evaluation as a survival threat, not as a metaphor, as a literal biological danger signal. The shame response, the flush of heat when you think others are judging you, the racing heart when all eyes turn in your direction, these are not irrational overreactions. They are the evolved output of a system that once kept your ancestors alive in groups where reputation was the difference between belonging and exile. This is why public speaking is consistently ranked as one of the most feared human experiences. This is why social anxiety affects an estimated 13% of all people at some point in their lives, making it one of the most common psychological conditions in the world. This is why a single unkind comment on a social media post can ruin an entire day. Your brain is not overreacting. It is running ancient software. The software is just pointed at the wrong threats. Psychologist Lynn Fendler at Michigan State University described this as threat generalization. The same neural circuitry that once responded to a leopard in a tree now responds to a critical email from a colleague, to a silence after you make a joke, to the moment before a job interview when you can feel 20 eyes tracking your entrance. The target has changed. The system has not. So what do you do with this? The answer, frustratingly, is not to fight the system. You cannot reason your amygdala out of firing. You cannot talk yourself out of the physiological cascade once it has started. What you can do is understand it well enough to stop letting it narrate your experience. When your heart pounds in a crowded room, that is not evidence that something is wrong. It is evidence that you are human, that you carry inside you 500 million years of threat detection, honed and refined across every ancestral environment your bloodline ever passed through. The system is working perfectly. It is just working on a problem that no longer exists. The predators are gone. The small tribal group where your status was life or death is gone. The stranger across the room is not evaluating whether to include you or exile you. They are standing in their own spotlight, feeling their own pulse, wondering if anyone noticed the thing they just said. Nobody is hunting you. The eyes that find you are not calculating your weaknesses. They are just eyes. Curious, distracted, almost immediately redirected to something else. And you are standing in a room full of people, palms damp, certain they are all looking at you. They are not. They never were. They are too busy being certain that you are looking at them. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe our channel. Your one subscribe and like support us for this informational video.